Hey, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Bulletproof Dental Practice Podcast. If you are actually watching us right now, you will notice that Peter and Craig are having what could be interpreted as a midlife crisis. Dr. Boulden is wearing a sport coat, which he hasn't worn since he had a parent-teacher conference in 2019, I believe it was, the last time you wore that.
Fake news, but keep going.
And I'm rocking a mustache in tribute to my father. I used to tease my dad. He started wearing a mustache when he was in the Army in 1968 as a captain in Vietnam. And I used to tease him and saying, if you wear it long enough, it'll come back in style. And when I showed up with my mustache, it would have thought like I baked my father a cake. He was so happy. He was like, oh my God.
Thank you. That's good because you look like a porn star, but that's great.
That's charitable, actually. I think that's a compliment.
Debbie does.
Well, I don't want to be that one. Anyway, we'll edit that part out. Who's the person that edits all these again?
I don't know.
Oh, wait a minute. We don't have one.
Yeah, that's right. So just keep rolling.
Keep rolling. So in keeping with midlife crisis, today you said this is your pod because you wanted to present something that looked very data rich. So for all those people who love Peter's data, stay tuned for the next episode where he goes into the 5 factors that are affecting local search. Right? Was that it?
No, but that was close.
Tell me the title so we can get some action.
2026 ranking factors, right? So we're about to have, and for our mastermind, we're about to have Darren Shaw back in for this Friday's call. I ran all of 47 masterminders practices through an audit of, because the search game is changing, Craig, and it's imperative that A, dentists know that, and B, that our listeners know that. And so there's a couple things that are imperative to kind of look at in your 2026 marketing plan.
Okay, so good little measure here for you, Peter.
Yes.
If you are interested and can't wait for this, please comment below. Just can't wait.
Can't wait. Yeah. Or if you don't care, and if you looked at the presentation and you panicked like Craig and said, I can't do that today. It looks too data rich.
No, I just said I had too much coffee on board for that.
Oh, okay. Then we can talk about
feelings
and nonsense and stuff like that.
Oh, Peter, I love you. So listen, so what are we going to talk about today? Let me just kind of brief the audience. I've got a couple ideas that have been circulating in my head. And one of them is this idea that would you allow or would you want your child to go into dentistry? And I want to unpack that. I want to kind of take a look at this because, Peter, we have a lot of students that are listening to this. Mm-hmm. So they're all kind of bright-eyed. They got Christmas in their eyes. They can't wait to graduate. And I want to just talk about what you think of dentistry for the graduating class 2025, 2026 and onwards. What are you thinking for your own child? If Amzi, Atlee, or Brack said to you, Dad, I really want to be a dentist because I want to work at Atlanta Dental Spa, what do you say?
Well, you just combine two things. I think there's 2 parts to that. One, I want to be a dentist. Dad, what do you think? And I would be a proponent of it, quite honestly.
Okay.
Yeah, knowing what I know now, knowing what I'm seeing in the future, and of course my mind goes to, Craig, I don't know if I would consider myself a futurist, but I probably consume enough
futurist.
Yeah. So I would say that dentistry is positioned very well for where this economy is going.
Okay. I like that. So unpack it a little bit. I assume you think AI, a lot of jobs
well,
are
so it's
an
AI resistant job, right? I would not let her go to law school, right? I know some people get offended when I say that, but that's the first thing to me that gets disintermediated. I would not let her go to medical school to be a diagnostician. I would say, hey, go be a surgeon, right? But you're not going to be just a GP who's going to diagnose things, because we're seeing the levels of grok and things like that are coming across. Look, and these models don't just get doubly better year over year. They 100x, Craig. So what we think is crazy, oh, that's crazy, it'll never disrupt an attorney. There will be the baddest MF attorney by the end of 2026 that you've ever seen, right? It'll have every case law, every this, every that. So I know I'm going on a bit of a tyrant, but I look at AI resistant jobs. Not that it's coming to take your job, but I look for things, the HVACs, the plumbing companies. I've even told her, I was like, you should start a pink van plumbing company, right? Women only plumbing company. Like one day.
Are you thinking like more of like a Hooters Twin Peaks model?
Easy.
Or like
That's my daughter now home. Easy. You're talking about my daughter, creep.
No, I don't know. But no, it's just a flannel. It's not like they're like, because that could be an interesting model.
No, it's not a twin. No, it's just a pink van, a women only run. I just
wanted to know your business model because I just bought twinpeaksplumbing.com. I can sell it back to you if you want.
Wow. See what happens when you take pilot and command of the podcast, by the way.
Speaking of pilot and command, Peter.
Yes.
I'm getting a check ride today. Dust off that pilot's license.
Good.
First step 1, grow the mustache.
Good.
Step 2, reactivate your pilot's license.
Good.
Step 3.
Step 3, Bulletproof becomes 100% mine when you have an accident.
Change the password to the logins.
It don't need to. You don't even know them.
Okay, so let's kind of regroup then. So here you are. You think it's AI resistant. I agree with you. But we're going to go now steel man the other side. Let's talk about the financial implications of dental school. Okay, so we got an average student debt in the upper 300s. Let's call it 400 grand. Mm-hmm. And we got an average salary of like 150. How do you know if you're going to be average or exceptional as a young student? How do you know in college? Like, did you know that you were going to be above average in college?
No. Okay. I didn't know. I knew I had an entrepreneurial aspect to me. I never really had a job growing up, but like I had no idea that would translate to dentistry. So no, I can't say that I got into dentistry because it was going to be what it is now. No. So I didn't know, Greg. No.
Okay. So then speaking to those people who are considering going to dental school.
As a matter of fact, I remember my instructor telling me this. He's like, look, you're pretty average in the class and this is what you're going to make. You're not going to be able to specialize because you didn't qualify. And he's like, so general dentists make $130,000 a year. And I was like, okay, like that seems like a pretty good living, And so I was okay with that. And I've talked about some things. There were some inflection points for me that happened in dentistry. And then I was like, okay, well, that's just what he thinks, But I mean, anyway, like when you're making $0, like a 6-figure salary is like, wow, that seems pretty cool.
Yeah, it's funny because you were told you're going to make $130,000, and that was basically like 25 years ago.
Right.
And now the average is 150.
Right.
So if you do inflation-related dollars, it should have swelled quite a bit. So that's what I see, though. I see schooling accelerating, the cost of education accelerating rapidly, and the salary is somewhat stagnating. So if I were to say the other side to your AI resistant, I think the dentist is largely being commoditized. So the industry is broad and there's a lot of revenue to be made, but it feels like the revenue is going to the DSO/owners versus the actual dentist. The dentist feels like a widget. I hate to say that, but what I do feel very strong about is actually dental hygiene. I really feel very long on dental hygiene because if you look at like the rise, the dozens of states that have these mid-level providers, I think it's like 20 states that have mid-level providers and advanced training for hygienists where they could, do a lot more of the dentistry. I see the dentist scope narrowing, right? It's not expanding, because there's not that many new procedures, and the hygienist scope widening, laser, all these different things. So, I am very long on dental hygiene. I really am. I think that's a career that's going to really blossom. And if you look at $145,000 or $150,000 being the average dentist, what's the average hygiene salary now?
Yeah, so it's a reversion to the mean almost. For what you're saying is as they get to do more procedures and more outlying access, injections and laser therapy, that the dentists
It's commoditized.
It's becoming so. Dental salaries are going down and hygiene are going up. So you're bullish on hygiene being the career.
Yeah, well, look, if you see, we get these calls all the time for our mastermind. Like, can you believe this hygienist won $65, $70 an hour? $70 an hour at 2,000 hours a year is the dentist salary.
Right.
So like that if you have hygienists that are commanding $65, $70, $75 an hour, boom, they're at the dentist level without the $400,000.
What is the average? Debt. What is the average debt load that comes out from being a hygienist?
Oh, obviously, nothing. I mean, not nothing, but it's incredibly negligible.
Like, do you know, or you just
no? But I've asked hygienists, do you have student debt? And I've never met one that had hygiene dental student debt.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, look, that's fair, and if you look at obviously the difference in the duration, 2 years versus, aren't they a 2-year program?
Yeah. So for the most common associate degree, which is the most common path for dental hygiene in the United States, it's $22,600 for tuition and fees. So if you, for a bachelor's degree in dental hygiene, which is not the most common, 36, and for a master's level dental hygiene program is 31,000.
I didn't know there was differentiation, honestly.
Yeah,
I thought it was just, I'm a hygienist. No one cares.
Does anyone care?
Just like going back to the concept of school, right? Meaning like some people go to these expensive private dental schools, right? And then you're going to graduate with $500,000, and you could have just gone to the state school. Like no one really cares. As someone who has hired, and Craig, you've hired way more associates than I. Yeah. You've never been like, you know what, that school's not going to cut it for me. You know, it's like, do you have your degree? Are you good with people? Let me look at your previous reviews of where you're from, and let me see some clinical work. But I don't really care. You know, it's different than like a law school, right? You have to have like a Harvard. Oh, did you go to Harvard Law or a business school?
Yeah, it's a club. It's a networking club, because when you go to Harvard Business School, you're part of a Harvard HBS alumni group, and then they all stick together. There's no such a thing as like, oh, you went to Loma Linda. Here's 4 jobs that'll open up because of that.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
Look, I think it's like anything. It's a Pareto principle. There will be 20% of the people in the next 20% of the dentists who will capture 80% of the available market. Right? It makes sense.
Yeah, and then I think of that,
there will be 20% outliers, is what I'm saying. So
right, and those 20% of those outliers will employ 80% as well.
Right.
Like that's what I see. So like what I'm thinking is, I asked you 2 questions and you were smart to catch them both. Would you want your child who said they want to be a dentist to become a dentist? And the second part of that question, which I'll ask you now, well, Dad, I really want to work at ADS. I want to take over ADS.
That's a long road. I mean, who knows what happens? Maybe by then there's been an exit, or who knows, right? I wouldn't want the career to be predicated on me handing over a practice.
I was pointing to the different skills that are needed. So, I remember I put this, my marketing team put a video out of my practice, and it kind of went semi-viral, whatever, 20,000 views. And the comments were, I don't know why you'd go to dental school in order to run a practice like that. It seems like you wasted your degree. Right. So what do you say to that?
And so that's just the public misinformed. In many states, it's a requirement to do so. Right. And it gave you the chops to do it. I mean, you were deep, just like I was, very deep in your clinical career early on. Right. And it just so happens that as the business got more and more oxygen, as things got better, it had to grow, and you had to find bandwidth to work on your business. And then eventually it got to the point where you're like, okay, like it makes more sense for me to be out of the chair than in the chair, because other people need to replace my workflow. And I think that's a healthy progression. I actually had this conversation last night, with some dent. I went to eat with a very iconic dental group here in Atlanta, just having discussions, and we were talking about it. I think that there's this, and he was actually talking about the pod, and he was saying, like, I heard the pod, and it's funny how there's shame associated with stepping down days or whatever, stepping out of the chair. I said, I think it's the healthiest progression. It's like you can't be there forever. Unless you're like your father, who just is like, I'm going to be here forever kind of thing. And that's cool too. So anyway, Greg, I don't know if I answered the question.
Well, you did. I just have a little bit to add on that. So now when I get involved operationally in business, I tend to screw things up. I'm best served in my particular role, aiding my dentist. So before I hit record on the pod, we were, excuse me, one of my dentists just needed some Invisalign help, or what would you do with this patient? Or this patient got approved for, third-party financing, but then surgery used their money and I don't know what to do. So it's like just kind of helping add value with the dentist.
Yeah, and that's called mentoring. Yeah. So basically you're best served as the mentor. And that is, as we talk to, the Arthur Blank, is it Arthur Blank? No, wait. Arthur Blank's the owner of the Falcons. Sorry. He was on Point to Point. It was on Oprah's thing. We talk about this a lot. Arthur Brooks. Sorry. Remember? So
Strength to Strength. Yes.
Strength to Strength. Right. So
wonderful podcast.
It's you're just in that phase of your life where your second strength is kind of leaning back into the next generation. Right. Yeah. And that next generation happens to be in your ecosystem.
Yeah, but the people in Bulletproof as well. I want to just double click on that for those that are approaching into their 40s, and even some of you guys that are in the 50s. The Arthur Brooks, he wrote a book, and he did for those of you who have ADD, you can just go on the Oprah Winfrey podcast and search Arthur Brooks Strength to Strength podcast. It's short. It's only about an hour long, I believe. But it talks about the human brain and how the early portion of your adulthood, 20s, 30s, and early 40s, you're wired to do. And then something changes in your brain and you're wired to mentor. And for those of you that are listening to this podcast are like, I'm 45, 55 or plus, and at my back it's hurting, I can't do the dentistry anymore. There's so many options for you. It's not, screw it, I've got this binary thing where I've got to call Acme DSO. Just so you understand, you can bring on people in your organization and take the hundreds of thousands of dollars of CE you've spent over your career and the decades of patient care and literally train somebody.
Well, that was a pod we talked about.
Associate
Greg, remember the 3 pathways of, everyone at some point has to exit, right? And so that was the middle pathway, or the middle door, if you remember, was replacing yourself. So if you're tired, if you're frustrated, or maybe you're just worn out from the first strength, and your first strength was the hustle, the grind, the doing, all that stuff. Maybe you're just ready for the next strength, which is the mentoring, and then getting fulfillment from that, because we're just not, I think the misconception is that when you get out of school that you are set like a robot, like a wind-up toy, toy, like, okay, now just wind up and go for 30 years in the same line. And then when things deviate or doesn't go as planned, either people panic or they have this shame with feeling like, oh my God, this wasn't what I thought it would be. And you're not the wind-up toy. Like how many pathways has yours taken? How many U-turns have you done? How many, like, it's just not a linear path. And so, my advice to someone listening to this, honestly, Greg, would be that, and I wish that dental schools would do this. We hear this all the time, but I wish that it would be imprinted upon the new class that, like, you are going to have to run a business. Yes, you're going to school as a clinician, but you are going to have to run a business. And if that's not what you want to do, like, get ready for a bumpy road.
Yeah.
Right. If you want to have your own practice, not run a business, quote unquote, or if that's not your skill set, just get ready to know that, like, you are going to have to insulate for this for the rest of your career. And I see so many people having friction with this conflict. They really wanted to go to school because they're good with their hands and they're an artist and they're a clinician and they're a craftsman, all these things, right? But meanwhile, they're caught in this, like, entrepreneurial seizure where they actually like 50% of their world has to be the business. It just has to be.
Yeah, they don't have the clarity to know what they've done. So and this is I just wish I could wave a magic wand over our profession, Peter, and just amplify that message. And every dental school should talk about it. Like, what does it look like day one after school? Here are the multiple pathways you can have. And maybe, I mean, listen, if you're a student, a school, I would love, or I'm going to voluntold Peter, but I would love to be talking to a graduating class for an hour. Here's the 4 or 5 pathways, the most common pathways, and there's more than 4 or 5. But if you decide, because Acme Bank and Acme Supply House says we'll give you 110% financing and we'll have you build your own office, just understand what you're getting yourself into.
Here's the problem with this, though, Craig. That narrative is not congruent with the corporate dentistry model, right? And as this becomes a pervasive force in our industry, that narrative will be pushed. It's like, don't worry what they're saying. Don't worry about that. Just get in line and go to work for 60 hours a week at Acme DSO.
Right.
I'm sorry. That's what's going to happen or is happening, right? Like, don't worry about that. Just become the best dentist you can be, right? Just worry about your clinical skills. And we will, and then these overpromised salaries of like, oh, we pay $250. Yeah, guess what? You're going to work 64 hours a week doing dentistry, with these overpromised things. So like, I don't know.
Very interesting, by the way. I have a total counterpoint to that.
Okay.
As you would expect. I see the opposite. So after taking 150 masterminders through the process and having a deep network of dentists that I speak with, I see a more insidious problem. I see the associate feeling shame, and I've seen their numbers, and I've seen some people that we've worked with, and I see their numbers that own their own practices.
Right.
The worst trap to be in is to be an owner working your tail off, 70 hours a week because you're doing clinical 40 hours and then
making
30
less
hours
than you could have as an associate.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the biggest kick in the ass of all. And by the way, you said something earlier that makes me just want to say one thing.
Okay.
You said like it's going to be hard and you have to, look at our path and look at what we did. Imagine having to go back to your life 10 years ago today, Peter.
Mm-hmm.
Just like you have to do 2 more years of what you did back then.
Mm-hmm.
That 30, 40 hours a week of clinical. And it's a very interesting, it's Naval Ravikant's one of his most famous quotes. He says, a taste of freedom makes you unemployable.
Mm-hmm.
So once you have control of your schedule, it is so flipping hard to go back. But if you're a struggling solo practitioner, or you've opened up what you think is a business, but it's really a practice, that is the least amount of freedom of any type of career. As an associate, you have much more freedom. So it's like either you're going to go through this business thing, eat glass and get some help from, some people out there and go through the process and create the freedom, or don't even do it and just be an associate and take the superfluous cash you have and invest it, because both ways will buy you freedom. Right. It's just one's going to be a little less of a bumpy road.
Yeah, but that's spending some time. And, I know we do that a lot in the beginning of Mastermind. Is it really spending some time with architecting your life? Right? Like, what do you want it to look like? Which, I make the pun that most people spend a little more time thinking about their vacation that they may do to Europe than they do their entire career. Like, I'm going to go here, and then I'm going to go here, and then we're going to go to the Rome, and then we're going to go to Coliseum, and then this day, and they spend more time. They're more strategic with their vacation planning than they are.
Right.
Hey, this year I'm going to do 1 point, and this is what I'm going to do next year, and then next year we're going to expand, and then next, all these things. They're way more strategic than in their vacation. It's like almost like let's just see what happens kind of mentality. Yeah. And so going back to your original question, because I think the thesis of this pod, or I guess the overarching title of the pod is, would you recommend dentistry to your child? And you're asking me, and I think I have a unique advantage because I'm a good entrepreneur, and I also understand the clinical. So like my children would have a distinct advantage. A 2nd generation dentist, 3rd generation dentist have unique advantages. I didn't have that, and so it is a leverage point, I believe.
Yeah. And I think there's just 2 sides of the coin. Being a dentist is one domain, and I would almost rather, I think the path is far easier and could be more successful for the associate. At this point in my career, this is what I feel. I feel the path for an associate who can really refine their clinical craft and collect a good amount of money in 4 days a week may have a better, more clear path than the solo doc who's trying to create the business. And the only caveat to that is the way to get wealthy is you use money as an investment. So the dentist who owns a practice may have some sort of residual value in the enterprise that they've built, especially if they want to build 8+ operatories. But the associate who's disciplined, who can take 15% of their earnings and drop it in real estate or in some other asset class, could wind up being far better, but we shit all over that person. Oh, you're just an associate. So we're set up from a narrative standpoint to almost fail. And I want to ask you, Peter, if you had advice to the people who want to go the business route. By business, I mean at least 8 operatories, because let's face it, if you have 3 or 4, as we've learned, it's not really a business. It's just a bespoke job. What are the 3 or 4 things that you better get really good at, or at least enjoy doing, if you want to be a business owner dentist? 3 or 4 skills, or what would you want this person to like? So think about like why some of the people on ADS are doing well right now. What are they good at? What do they like doing? And what are they, beyond being a dentist?
You're saying as a dentist or as a dental business owner?
As a dental business owner. So for those
what
people,
are the skills that I would recommend outside of dentistry or inside of dentistry? Meaning the clinical aspect or the...
No. So you have 2 dentists. One is just a great dentist. One is a great dentist plus these 3 or 4 attributes. And those 3, 4 attributes are going to make dentist number 2 a far better dental business person.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty simple stuff, quite honestly.
Let's hear it.
So it's being able to read financials. And I know that sounds simple, and I know we all think we can. And most people listening to this, they open it up from their CPA, they go down to the bottom line and they look, did I have any net profit? There's no dissection of that. A P&L is a lag indication of what you did, what happened. There's no lead indication of what's going on. Sure. So I would get really good at it's something called forecasting.
Sure.
If this, then that, right? If this happened in the past, how do I correct that? And then getting really good at using this as your test kitchen, because if nothing changes, nothing changes, kind of thing.
Sure.
So that's number 1. I would get good at being.
Is that in order? Are you going in order? Like this is the most important one?
No.
Okay.
I'm just, you caught me. Okay. You caught me. The second thing is I would get good at metrics inside the practice that move the needle for success. Right? Sure. I would not get bogged down with the hundreds of metrics that a dental intel or practice by numbers or whatever can do. Sometimes we get intoxicated by the number of things that are presented. Look at me, I'm in my dashboard. Meanwhile, there's a little bit of an imposter syndrome going on, as we've discovered, and people really don't know what those mean. They're just kind of looking at it and ingesting it, but they don't really know what's the thing. Right? It's almost like the thing from marketing, and I'm going to get into marketing in a second too, that half of your marketing works. Sometimes you just don't know which half.
Sure.
Okay. So learning what KPIs are there. So we have learning how to read lag indication, right? Sure. The numbers in the past, learning how to forecast as well, learning what KPIs clinically are moving the practice towards growth. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And the third, you only get one more. I want to stop you at 3.
Okay. And then the third would be that what is the jet fuel that I need? So meaning that attention is the currency. I would get good at getting people's attention, meaning potential people in my market. I would get good at marketing. I would get good at internal marketing. I would be in the limelight of people's memories, because it's not that you're not good at your job or your business isn't good. It's just no one knows that you're there.
Yeah.
So those would be my 3. I probably could say 3 or 4 more, but like that is my own bias of, and it's my bias, Craig. It's my own confirmational bias, because that's what I did. Right. And,
in my opinion, those weren't the things that made you successful. So it's amazing to me how different we are.
Okay.
It's amazing to me, because I think you could hire someone to decipher your P&L wonderfully for you. You could find someone, a consultant, to decipher your metrics, and you can hire a marketing company, and you can still not do well. So you could be, let me say in other words, you could be very proficient at your P&L. You could know what metrics to look at. And you could be a really good marketing hack. What you are really good at what you are really good at is influence. Because at the end of the day, you signed up people to work with you, as patients, and you were really good at influencing them and saying, hey, I'm going to take you on this journey and I'm going to redo your smile. And you were on the cover of magazines, so people loved you in Atlanta and you got some degree of notoriety. And you're like, okay, my back hurts. This is not going to be fun. And you started influencing other people. Like, hey, doc, join me. We're going to build something. Hey, team, come with me. So you were good at leadership, vision, and influence. And I think if you sucked at the three things you told me, those skills that you do have, the 3 or 4 things that you do have, would have propelled you forward, and you would have been able to hire the other pieces. You could never hire the part that you did.
Fair. Okay, that's a fair point. But I also I mean I agree, disagree. I think that it was imperative for that, because speed, I didn't have to depend on someone else for the propagation of that. I didn't have to rely on the consultant or the this or the output. I became the expert.
Yeah, I know. It's just so wild the way you think. And I love it, because obviously you're wildly successful and I learn a lot from you. I think it's the way we learn. You learn by like, I need to know it in order to do it.
Yeah.
I'm like, if you can do it, I don't want to know it. Like, it's like, I like to eat chocolate cake, but if you're like, hey, watch me make it, I'm like, holy hell no. But what I do see,
it is weird. And I've been, maybe you're right, Greg.
I don't know, but I'm just saying that you're discounting all the things that I see the greatness in you.
If there's something to know, I want to know it. You're right. And you're like, look, there's limited bandwidth. I'm going to stay here. I just can't, I think it's just the way I was raised, quite honestly. My dad was very, very, let's do it ourselves. Let's change the oil in our cars. Let's, the plumbing's broken. Let's put in a new faucet. Like my wife told me her favorite thing about me is she's like, you can fix anything.
Yeah.
You can fix anything. Yeah. And, and I got that because it was like, I didn't know there were options. And I think I took that into business. Like, if someone's going to learn it or learn how to do it, it's going to be me. And that's,
I get it.
And right or wrong, right? I don't know.
It is a great talent. I don't want to strip anything away from you. I want to acknowledge you for your grit and the way you do things. But I think your greatest talent was getting people to see where you wanted to go and follow you. People like to hitch their wagon. I mean, look,
and
I'm the same guy.
Decisive. You are, yeah.
Right.
And being
you
very
were telling me, hey, join the podcast episode 1, because look at our P&L and our metrics. I liked what you were doing. You had vision, clarity, and leadership. It's the things that you don't, it's the selection bias. I see you as a leader. People want to follow you. You're commanding. And I think it's what made you successful. So what I wanted, just as a counterpoint to Peter, for those that are considering opening up a dental business, I think you better like being decisive. You better like creating a vision, like, hey, we're going here. You better like being in charge, and you better like influencing people. If you hate all 3 of those, I don't vision. I don't like speaking. I don't want to, geez, that's not my skill. I don't really want to do that. You're screwing yourself up, and you're screwing the people up too. You were so crystal clear. I read your first partner document almost 9 years ago almost. And it was like, here's where we're going. It was a slide presentation. It was beautiful. I remember all of it. It had a map of Atlanta on it. Like, I remember every part of it. It was a leader is someone who can paint the future and then have other people say, I want to be a part of that future.
Be a part of that. Okay.
That's what you're great at.
Well, thank you. And look, I don't want to make this about, I feel like this is becoming about me
no, because I'm good at that too.
I hope that people are extrapolating the advice from this, because I don't want us to sit around and talk about each other.
Here's my fear. So I have a point here, and I want to just crystallize the point, Peter. My fear is that if they just listen to the 3 things, P&L, metrics, and marketing, those are in the domain of what you can definitively learn. And I don't want those people to say, I'm going to learn those 3 things, open up my practice. I feel the pain.
That landed for me.
I feel the pain of people that have done what they've been told to do, and they're really upset.
So again, I think you nailed it. Is that our brains just works like my knee jerk is to super tactical, right? As opposed to, and I would say, Craig, that your journey has been probably a lot more fun than mine, because you identified what you just said, that the leadership and the influence were the more important part very early on. Meaning you didn't chew the glass of learning the marketing or chew the glass of having to learn this, thinking that was your outcome. You just focused on the people.
Yeah, I don't know if it's been more fun or less fun. I think it's our duty with the microphone that we have.
Less conflict, and maybe
No,
not
sure,
more or less
sure.
fun.
Okay. I just think it's our duty with this microphone that we have and the people that are listening to say, like, okay, you want to do rock climbing. You better like adventure, fear, or like, look, I'm going for a check ride today. As a pilot, yes, anyone can learn the instruments, the weather, what the altimeter, what the pitot tube does, but you better like the adventure of it.
True.
Because it's going to be a freaking adventure. Every time you take off, you're going to land. The question is how hard you're going to land. Everybody lands. So good pilots are, yes, they understand the science, but they like the adventure. I mean, if you ask your dad, why did he become a pilot?
Yeah.
It's not going to be like, I like doing flight calcs, fuel calcs.
Right.
Yes, he has to do that. He just loved the adventure.
Yeah, but the adventure was the overarching premise. Yeah,
right.
I would agree.
You love to influence, Peter.
I love to influence.
You love, and you're good at you don't love it. You're good at it. I don't know whether you love it or you're good at it. It's like Michael Jordan. Does he love basketball? He's good at it.
So the advice you're saying is, hey, if you're a rock climber, you're a pilot, you're a dentist starting out in 2025 going forward, there are going to be, you better like the things that are being constituents of that. Otherwise, just identify early on that that's not you do not seek the adventure. You do not crave the entrepreneurialism. You do not. So focus on honing your skill to be this out producer, right? Yeah. That you can then be compensated inside of someone else's ecosystem.
Yeah.
Okay.
And just to, when we look at Richard Branson as a final example, he has dyslexia. So reading a P&L is out the door for him. Reading metrics is out the door. But what he's a master influencer. He connects with people. He sets out visions. He questions. I
feel like you schooled me a little bit on this podcast.
No, I didn't. I didn't intend to.
I went with certainty but like, honestly, I'm coming around to what you're saying. And I wanted to not agree with you, quite honestly, because I was like, maybe that's the decisiveness. I want to be like, no, those are the three things. And now I'm coming around thinking like, you know what? He's really right. And those three things I gave was just an augment, right?
Yeah,
it just helped me a little bit.
I get it. It's just, you have a tendency we all have biases, and you have a tendency to think everybody's just really good inherently at these things that you're good at.
Right.
And, with the 150 plus masterminders, it's like, oh no, they're not you, Pete. So I always want to say, like, hey guys, just do this. It's like, they're not you. And that's what kind of coming first full circle to would you want your kids to become dentists? And then the second part, would you want them to take over the practice? I could see a future where one of my children would make an excellent dentist and be miserable in the position that you or I are in our lives, or were in over the last 5 or 10 years. That would suck.
I can see that. Now, let me flip it to you. Like, what is your advice to your children? I know you kind of gave it in your piece, but if Gavin comes to you and says, hey, Dad, I want to be a dentist, are you telling him the same thing? Hey, you better identify that this is a business. And he's seen
I would do the same thing I always
do
to everybody. Why do you want to be a dentist? Well, I just love the craft of it. I love the way the precision of things fit together, and I love helping people. Great. I want my child to have a job. If Gavin says to me, I love dentistry the way my dad loves dentistry, just loves the way things fit together and the precision and working with patients, I do not want my son to go and become a dental business person. I want him to have a job, and I want him to learn everything he can about being an amazing dentist and collect $2.5 or $3 million a year and crush it. But don't go into the muddy waters where we find most of our community in this. I love dentistry. I'm great at dentistry. Therefore, I am a dental business person. That's the shitty, muddy reality that most people are in.
On a we've offended people scale, where do you think this is?
Oh God, nowhere.
Really?
If this offends you, this is just two guys telling you what they think, and it could be right or it could be wrong. But we got a lot of experience behind us, and we have an in-depth look. And I also get the worst part of dentistry. At Bulletproof, we get to meet the people who have gone through, in our mastermind at least, we get to meet the people who have gone through what I consider prescriptive consulting. I won't name names, but there's a person out there as one, and I've now met 3 of their clients, and we're working with 3 of their clients. They say, hey, forget about becoming a dental business person. You're going to go with us. You're going to stay with us for 4 or 5 years. We're going to teach you how to become a super dentist. Your team's going to be lean and mean. We're not going to hire associates. We're not going to take insurance. We're just going to
Wait, this is a consulting company?
Oh, yeah. We have a current mastermind who just joined. Yeah. A consulting company, right, and it's a prescription. It's not what do you want? And I asked, I'm like, well, what do you guys want? Did these other people that you work with for 5 years ever ask you what you want? No, never. So they have to now untrain their team, because their team, it's not about leadership. It's not about growing. It's not about more locations, more doctors, more chairs. It's literally, it's not said overtly, but it's kind of insinuated. Don't get an associate because it's just a pain. You'll have to redo all the work. And by the way, there's some truth to that. And don't go on insurance because it's devaluing your time, which is also partly true unless you want to have associates. So I'm really passionate, as you can tell, Peter, because I think that there's programming to train our colleagues to be unhappy. Sorry. So
yeah, that's a shame to hear that that's going on.
And when we unclick record, or when we stop the recording, I want to tell you who it is. Yeah. And he's a very good dude, and he's well known in dentistry. And is he a
dentist?
Yeah, dentist. Yeah, there's 2 that I can tell you about. And I'll tell you when we're stop recording. If you ever ask me, and these are good people, but it's not a one size fits all.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like it's our obligation to figure out what you want and do it.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for letting me drive, Peter.
Yeah, you were the PIC today. I know this started out a little bumpy. We hit some turbulence with our jabs, but if you're still with us and you didn't tune out, hopefully it's got you iterating in your own brain. What am I wanting? What am I doing? And if you're a youngster, right? These are good questions to iterate on.
Yeah, and you're going to like it. You're going to like it. The best thing you can do is be honest with people. And if the things about influence, leadership, vision setting light you up, then hell yeah, do it. Right. But if you're like, that's not me, just be careful. Just tread lightly. And there's nothing wrong with making a really good living and having a job and working 3 or 4 days a week and making boatloads of money.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that.
Agreed. I like it. Thanks for flying. Thanks for driving.
Yeah, I'll let you know how my flight goes later. Thanks for listening. And if you got any value, please share this with a friend. Believe it or not, the Bulletproof Dental Practice Podcast is not a household name in dentistry.
What?
So I meet people all the time that say, like, I've never heard of you guys.
Does that hurt your feelings? Your heart a little bit?
No, but I want to do good for dentistry. I really do. Yeah. So if this podcast rang true for you, and there's a friend of yours that's like thinking about expanding or leaving their job as an associate,
or not even this pod, Craig, like the things that we've got, I know you aborted the mission from something tactical, but like I actually had a bunch of people reach out to me on that last pod we did. I mean, we try to cover such a wide gamut of things, tactical versus here's the 3 doors in your career versus is your team. So like, it's not just that is this pod valuable, but like make sure your friends are, send them this, right? Help spread the gospel.
Spread the gospel.
Yeah, that's right. All right, everybody.
Appreciate you, Peter. Thank you for starting this and letting me ride your coattails. Thanks, everybody. Drop a like or a comment.